Hello, everyone. I am Kirsten Thompson. I am your host of More Than Magic. Today, we have a really special guest today. I was going to say host, but I'm the host. We have a really special guest, Nichelle Hosley. But first, I want to ask everyone, if you are watching this video right now, or even if you watch the replay, this is something I have to get better at. Stop what you're doing, like this video, and please share it. That's something that I never do, but I need everyone to start sharing so that these fabulous programs get out to the people. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce Nichelle. Nichelle, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I know
you.
how very busy you are.
Ooh.
And this was our second time. The first time we were supposed to come on, I was not well and had to cancel. So thank you for moving things around in your schedule to come be with us.
And I'm so glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. Me too. It was a rough week, but it wasn't COVID at least. So I thought it was for a second, but all is well. So we have a little tradition here at the studio, and it's so important for us to be called by our names properly. And I know for a fact that as Black women, our names automatically get messed up a lot of times. People don't take the time to pronounce them correctly. So I'm just curious about the name Nichelle. I'm sure that people call you Michelle often.
Yes.
Were you named after someone in your family, or did your parents just sort of decide to do that just to be artistic? Where did the name Nichelle come from?
Well, actually, you are correct. I do get called Michelle quite a bit. But actually, my parents named me after Nichelle Nichols.
Oh.
Yeah, my mom and dad are Trekkies, and so they kind of got on board with the magic before the magic was happening, if you will. And so her, as one of the very few Black actresses, they decided to name me Nichelle. So my name is Nichelle Nicole.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That's beautiful. Uhuru. Yeah. I come from a family of Trekkies too, and I won't tell all the embarrassing stories because this is not about that. But like, we used to full on dress up. Like,
oh wow, yeah. I always tried to do I can never do the thing.
I think. Yeah. Oh wait, I did it. Okay, I'm like, I just surprised myself. Yeah. So, one of the reasons, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I wanted to have you on the show. The very first time I met you was at the San Antonio Fashion Awards. Yep. And that was a long time ago, maybe 6, 7 years, maybe more.
About 6 or 7. Yeah.
You were so personable and so warm and so sweet and just kind. And I don't think that's something that you can fake, because that's something that we intuit from other people. And so I just always held you in that esteem as just a kind, generous person, like warm spirit. But you are mad talented also.
Thank
and
you.
you do a lot.
I do. Probably too much, but yeah.
And that's the challenge, trying to balance it all. So I want to talk about a lot of things, but let's start with your interior design career. Okay. Because I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, I want to get into it. I want to do that, and don't really know where to start. So how did you get your start, and when did you know that this was something that you really, really, that you knew you could do professionally, as not a hobby, but to make a living?
Actually, I didn't know that I could actually make a living at it until I moved here in 2004. And the reason that I say that is because I started out in the cosmetology industry. I owned a nail salon for like 15 years. That was my jam. And I was doing pretty good at it. And so when we got orders to move here to San Antonio, I kind of lost the love a little bit. It was a lot. Yeah. And at that point, that transition, I had gotten some mail of an advertisement from St. Mary's University. Oh, yeah. An introduction to interior design. So I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me go and check that out. So I did. And then I went through that class, and I totally enjoyed it. And then at that point, they decided they were going to start a continuing education program for both residential and commercial. So I did that. So my journey is a little bit unconventional, but I'm still here, you know. But in all actuality, when I look back on like the origination of the love, it's probably when I was little. And I don't know if you remember, but like the Barbie blow up furniture, and do you remember all of that?
Yes, I had a lot of that. I was a tomboy though, so I destroyed everything.
Oh God. Well, yeah,
do
I
remember.
had some of the coolest Barbie blow-up furniture,
Uh-huh.
with the dream house and all that kind of stuff. And I was constantly rearranging, and you name it, I did it. So I think it goes back
Yeah.
to when I was little. And then other things. I thought I was going to be like some powerful businesswoman, like in a corporate office, or that's what I thought I was going to do.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, I'm more on the creative side.
But it's interesting, that dichotomy of, I think I talk about this with almost every guest. When you are creatively inclined, and then you still do have to be a business person and balance that out.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because it's not easy, and I'm sure it's stressful at times. How do you manage that creative brain that has like ideas and, theories, and, I'm sure you see things in expanded form with like colors, and it's just the way the creative mind works.
Yeah,
but then you have to like have processes and procedures, and how do you balance all of that?
Well, let me just say, it's still a balancing act. I mean, it's
like on a tightrope, right?
Yeah, it's a learning process. I recently went to an interior design conference in Miami
where you got an award. Is that...
Well, I got the award before I left.
Let me slow down. Okay, we'll talk about that too.
But at that conference, I mean, it was all things interior design, the business side of it as well as the creative side. And at that conference, I realized just how much still that I need to put in place, some systems and processes for business, because it can get a little chaotic, especially when I'm working with more than one client.
Right.
It's like, okay, wait, who was that for? Wait a minute. So it's a lot. And I'm a one-man team.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely looking to try and find me someone that I can kind of work with that will help take up some of the slack, because I do work full time. I have my own business, Into Spaces Interior Design, but and nor do I don't treat it like a side gig.
No.
I have my full time gig at Interior Trade Cartel, which I absolutely love.
Yes.
So yeah, balancing is definitely something that is a daily challenge for me. Yeah.
And there's an idea that like when you are, I just love your family. So your husband is a professional photographer. And so you all have all these amazing photos like on social media. And every time I see them, first of all, you see the love. Y'all are all fabulous. Everybody's always like dressed down. But I know that there's more than the picture. Like, to be a wife, to be a mother, to be a businesswoman, what do you do to kind of carve out spaces and time for yourself so that you don't burn out? Because that's a problem. We're just going to be real. Black women burn out, I think, more than any other demographic. And from a statistical standpoint, we're one of the highest group of growing entrepreneurs, in terms of education. I mean, there's just a lot that we take on. How do you not burn out? How do you do it all? Share with us, because we need to know.
First of all.
And if you do burn out every once in a while, let us know that too, so we know that we're all human and it's okay.
Burnouts are periodic. Yes, I do burn out. And typically, burnout for me looks like, I don't know, a mood shift, or burnout could look like, I have all of this work that I need to get done and I do nothing. Right. I mean, like literally, because I'm just like, I'm paralyzed mentally. Yeah. And sometimes physically, like I just don't want to do anything. And so it can be challenging, but because I have the family that I have, and fortunate for me now, they're all adults. Yes. So they don't require a whole lot of my time. Right. But at the same time, we still want to stay connected. So that definitely helps. And then recently, my husband and I, we kind of did a little leap, where we decided to change our living, our lifestyle. Yes. Yeah. So we moved out of our house back in February, and we moved into an apartment. And so it's like literally me and him. And so it's kind of
like
a different
looking at each other.
Yeah. It hasn't been real bad, maybe a few blow ups, but we're loving it. Yeah. It's a little different.
Are you experiencing that? Because all of the kids are like out of the house, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're out of the house.
Right. Oh, okay. So are you having the empty nester kind of like, are you going through withdrawals from not having, are you like freedom?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
probably
well,
both.
both.
Yeah.
Both. I do enjoy the liberty that I have to not have a lot of demands on me
Yes.
when, when I get home or period. But then the flip side of it is when I am at home and I can just have a memory of something like, oh, Justin would be walking through the door, right? Oh, Christian would be or whatever. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I'm embracing the empty nest though, because I doubt very seriously if it'll go back.
Right. Like,
way.
this is where we are.
Right. This is where we are. And I see, moving forward, I don't know where we may stay where we are. We may do something different. Who knows?
Yeah.
So.
But I spoke on that before the show even started. I was talking about non-attachment and letting things go.
Yeah.
And I've done something very similar so I can identify. And there's just a feeling of peace and ease that comes with that, and I'm glad that you're able to share that with us, because I do think it's easy to get caught up in, I have to have all the things.
Right.
I have to have the house. I have to have the car. I have to do this. But it's also okay to kind of pull back and create some rest and some ease for yourself.
Absolutely. And like you said, attachments. I was not attached to that house.
Right.
I'm not attached to much of anything. I just want to kind of live in the moment.
Yeah.
I want to go and do and be,
travel and eat good food.
Yeah. I don't want to be locked into something that's not giving me peace and joy.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So can we talk about, you are a successful businesswoman and a mother and a wife, and I'm curious how you and your husband met, because I always love to hear people's like love stories or their journeys. Because you're like a family that people see, and you're just striking. And so there's like that curiosity, like, how did all of this coalesce into this beautiful family? Do you mind sharing that?
Oh, no, I don't.
I love. Okay.
I don't mind sharing. I don't mind.
I pretend
sharing.
otherwise, but I'm a hopeless romantic.
Well, first of all, for those that may not know, I am married to Art Hosley Jr.
Yes.
He is a very, very good photographer here in the community. But anyway, how we met. I had went overseas with my parents. My mom worked for the Army Corps of Engineers.
Oh, okay.
And so she kind of traveled much like the military. She would get orders to go here, there, or wherever. And so she got an assignment in Japan. And at that point in life, I would probably did my second year in college, and that was just not a thing for me.
Right.
So,
like, I'm not feeling it.
No. They were in Germany. My parents were in Germany, and I stayed in Virginia, which is where I'm from, to go to college, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And so when my mom told me that she was getting an assignment somewhere, to, at that time, Hawaii, I was like, I'm going.
Yeah.
And so we went to Hawaii, and that was probably for a couple years. But then after that, then we went to Japan.
Okay.
Japan is where life really began to change, because at that point I had my oldest daughter, Caitlin.
Okay.
Yeah, she was my firstborn. And so anyway, Art and I met because, well, first of all, I had befriended this young lady, real cool young lady that you would probably love if you knew her.
Okay.
But anyway, as it turns out, this girl was best friends with him.
Okay.
And so I was like, how does that happen?
Right. What's going on?
Right. But anyway, they were best friends. And so we all kind of started hanging out. So I had met him through her. And the way I met him, ironically enough, he was kind of like the person showing the models how to walk for a fashion show. Yeah. And so anyway, I was like, okay, I see you, sir. Right. I don't know what I said back then, but now I say,
something,
I see you,
yeah.
sir. But anyway, so that's how we met. And so anyway, we started hanging out just as friends. He was kind of a hard pill to crack or egg to crack, whatever.
Right.
But anyway, we started hanging out and stuff.
Yeah.
And then eventually we started dating. So with that, I want to say probably over a span of 8 months, we met, we dated, got engaged, and got married.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, there's hope out there.
There is. And when you know. We both knew at that point in our lives. We were ready to settle down.
Right.
You know, we were really digging each other. It was a good thing. It was a good move on both of our parts. And so here 30 years later.
And that was my next question, because I do remember seeing that you all had celebrated an anniversary not too long ago.
Yeah. In June.
This past
30
summer.
years.
Oh, that's beautiful.
30 years.
Well, happy belated anniversary. Congratulations on 30 years, because that is not an easy accomplishment.
No, it's not. It isn't. And so, yeah, for those out there that are aspiring, just know that it takes work.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things that Art likes to say is that we go through something, we don't get stuck in it. So, you know, when things come up, you know, when we have some silent moments and,
it's normal.
you know, kind of go through it and hi, you know.
Right. But I love that. So it sounds like, I mean, you're both creatives and his name is Art, and like art is what brought you together, like on a fashion show set or venue. So you also, in addition to interior design, you have, you know, I put on the promo for the show, I put Fashionista, because I was like, oh, that word is so overused, but I do think of you in that light as well. And you do every year this amazing event that is coming up again next month, Interior Design Meets Fashion. And I would love to talk to you about that, because people tend to kind of act like the arts are sort of their own little thing, but it's all the same creative energy. So that's why people who paint may decide they want to be singers, and then maybe someone who sings decide, I want to design clothes. And so it's all very connected. How did you come up with well, first maybe tell our audience what the event is and how you came about, you know, with the idea. And
well, first of all, Interior Design Meets Fashion. It's really a creative platform. And I like to think of it as a creative platform for opportunity and give back. Kind of much like what you're doing here. You know, this is a platform. This is an opportunity that you give people to come and talk. And then the give back being that, you know, you have followers or supporters or whatever the case may be. And so the same thing with IDMF, which is what I'll refer to it at this point. But there's a lot to say.
Yes, I was trying not to trip over my tongue.
IDMF. IDMF is that it is definitely a creative platform, you know, that we give opportunity to models, those aspiring to be models, boutiques, those that are fresh out of college, fashion design school, that might want to show some of their pieces. But really, the origination of it came out of the fact that, at the showroom that I work for, Interior Trade Cartel, I'm around beautiful stuff all day, every day. And, you know, the fabrics and just pieces of furniture. When you look at a piece of furniture and you can literally see a person or a shirt or a suit or, you know. And so when we started it was kind of like a party. It was supposed to be a party, but kind of evolved into a party with a give back, you know. And so from there, we came up with the idea to put on a full-on fashion show. Let's use some of these upholstery fabrics and see what we can come up with. I don't know, take a lampshade, it'll be a hat. Just different things that we can do to be creative, to have fun, get together and have fun, and then raise money and give to local organizations. And so this year we are giving to an organization called SLU. And I don't know if you're familiar with SLU, but SLU, it stands for Support Lending for Emotional Well-Being. And what that organization does, we had an opportunity to go over there the other day, and they don't just cater to cancer patients, breast cancer patients, but any form of cancer, but women. They provide wigs, emotional support, like therapy, massage therapy, all kinds of things that they provide. And we're so honored to be able to support them this year. So yeah.
That's beautiful. And it's so very necessary, because one of the things that sometimes goes overlooked when people are not well and facing some kind of, illness is like the aftercare
Right.
after they've taken the medicine or the remedies or gone through treatment, and
Mm-hmm.
that emotional wellness is a huge component because so many people deal with like depression, and
Mm-hmm.
there's just a lot that comes up. So that's a
Yeah.
beautiful organization that you are. I'd heard of it before,
Mm-hmm.
um in a conversation with someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know before you got here that that's who you were
Mm-hmm.
partnering with, but that's
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Yeah.
So do you all do people from the organization attend the event as well, or
Typically, yes,
yeah.
and I'm sure it'll be the same this time around as well. We did an organization the last show
Mm-hmm.
because first of all we had a 2-year void, of course,
Right.
because of the pandemic. I was not going to be responsible for that part. So 2 years now till this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so our last show in 2019, we did the Assistance League. I'm not sure if you're
Okay.
familiar with
Yeah.
them, but they're over on the west side of town, and they do great work over there with children and helping them be prepared for school, with clothes and school supplies, everything that they need to be successful.
Yeah.
So that was a really, really great show. And I tell you, I want to say like the whole crew that worked, that whole organization showed up.
Really?
It was amazing. So yeah, we expect that SLU will be the same way, that they'll be in attendance, because that's typically what happens. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I really want to talk about, because as I'm sitting here, like I'm like, oh my little heart, because I'm so mushy inside. I'm hearing you talk about partnering to help people in the community who need it most. And there is this idea that when you deal with anything that has to do with like aesthetics, whether it's makeup or hair, interior design, fashion, that it's just fluff and that it doesn't have substance, which we already know is not true. But that is a very common misconception. I have conversations about it all the time. But it's really nice for you to affirm that we can use our gifts and our talents not only to create beautiful art for the eyes to behold, but that are feeding people on a deeper level that's actually contributing to society on multiple levels. So it's not just like, oh, pretty things.
Right.
And pretty things are important as well, I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it, you can walk into a beautiful space. It's like whatever you are facing before you came through that door, it kind of goes away. And so yeah, absolutely. I believe that our surroundings, our living spaces, how we look, how we dress, all attributes to how we feel. And so, IDMF, again, I think caters to all of that, when you look at even our staff. So, me being an interior designer, my youngest daughter is a fashion designer, which some of her pieces will be on the runway. So I'm excited about that. My oldest daughter, Caitlin, she's makeup artist, so she'll of course be leading in that regard. My husband being photographer. I have 2 sons who are both walking in the show.
Oh, I love it. It's a family affair.
So yeah, it's definitely a family affair, and we all kind of contribute to creating that environment, aesthetically and emotionally.
It's medicine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My oldest son, Christian, he is a strength coach at the high school he graduated from. But when I tell you, he is like the most motivating human being I've ever met in my life.
Right.
So I can see how all of my kids kind of play a part in bringing all of this together. And, Justin, he's the youngest. He just finished real estate school.
Okay.
And so, he's kind of finding his place in the mix of everything too. So yeah.
I love it. So I have a kind of a random question. So when you go to the movies or you watch television, do you find yourself like critiquing the set design?
Yes.
Are you able to enjoy like programming?
I do. But more than anything, I think not so much critique, because I do some critiquing. Like they really should have not hung that chandelier there. But like I'll tell you, what was the show? Empire.
Oh, which I've not seen.
Empire.
I'm so bad.
I can tell you where they got every piece of furniture, because I deal with it. The fabrics hanging, you name it. So typically, when I'm looking at a show, I can usually pick out like, oh, that's a piece of Caracol or whatever, whatever vendor I'm familiar with that I recognize the furniture. And so I do that more than anything.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, it is.
I do it, and I'm not even an interior designer, but I have an appreciation of like fabrics and anything tactile and visual, that connection. And so people won't watch movies with me because I'm like, oh, you know, at the movie theater, you can't do this, but like in person, like I'm like, oh, rewind that. You see that? And that's that shade of chartreuse and this vermilion. And they're like, it's red. I'm like, it's vermilion, you know, just little stuff like that. But it's fun. But it does make you, I think, hyper aware of your surroundings everywhere you go.
I'm always looking. I'm always looking. I can walk in a room and I'm already space planning or like, oh, he should move that desk over on the other side. He might, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I'm always doing stuff like that.
Well, maybe you can convince our producer to let me paint the bathroom gold because so we've been having this not a fight, but we've been having this discussion about our bathroom. And, you know, this is a huge, 50,000 square foot warehouse essentially. And I'm like, we got to zhuzh it up. And I'm like, we need to paint the bathroom walls like a matte, like antique gold. And he's like, gold? And I'm like, it's going to feel so good. We're going to change out the toilet. We're going to do this. And he's just like,
put a black toilet in there.
Did you hear that?
Black toilet.
Black toilet, vintage antique gold walls. Let it be said, let it be done. But it's true. Like there is and I'm sure when you were studying in school, you probably did you have to take psychology courses as well?
No. Well, let me rewind. We did touch on it because a lot of it is.
It's absolutely psychology.
It is.
Absolutely.
Black toilet, sir. Yes. Oh my God.
See, the part about being live is that we can't edit this stuff out. So we'll just act like we didn't hear it. Just keep going.
Oh my gosh. Oh God. What were you saying again?
I don't even know. What did we were saying, psychology. The psychology of surroundings and color theory, all of that.
Yeah. So in that regard, yes, we did study quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
You know, in color theory of, you know, different shades and different colors that invoke or evoke certain moods and stuff like that. And then the part of it where people, or mainly couples, you know, how to deal with that dynamic when he clearly doesn't want any of this to happen, but she wants it to happen. And so, yeah, there's different aspects of psychology that are required in this industry, probably just about any industry, I'm sure. But
well, and you're kind of like, in those instances, you're like a mediator. So you're having to use negotiating skills, you know, along with the actual design process. So you're really doing a couple of jobs.
Yeah. And even being a mediator, that's one thing. But even for someone that I'm not having to mediate, just, you know, because the reality of it is if you contact an interior designer, you're looking for a different experience.
Yes.
You know, you're looking for an upscale experience, or you've come to the conclusion that you can't handle this on your own, or whatever the case may be. And so it's required that you have some sort of budget.
Yes.
So when you talk about psychology, it's almost like we have to change the terminology. So it's like I have to approach it from, what is your level of investment?
Right.
Versus asking them what their budget
How much you want to spend?
Right.
You can't do that.
In reality, that's what I need to know so that we can make this magic happen.
Absolutely.
But if they look at it more so from an investment perspective, it's easier to walk the journey with them. So.
How do you navigate getting people to understand that it is an investment? Because I think sometimes when you're providing a service, because I think of what you do as a luxury, because not everyone can invest in interior design, you know, at any given point in time. How do you sort of, I don't want to say convince, but how do you convey to people that this is like a luxury experience and it's worth the investment? Because I think sometimes people do think like, oh, it's just easy and they just throw some things together. But there's creative energy that people have to compensate you for. You know, that thought process that you have, not everyone has. So there's there's your time invested, there's your education. How do you because that's tricky. I think anytime you're in a service industry, there's that disconnect sometimes with clients that you have to deal with?
Yeah.
What's your approach? I'm curious.
Well,
Because you're such a warm person, so I'm curious as to how you get that across.
I appreciate you saying that because I don't always feel that way.
Okay.
But it literally depends on the client.
Right.
Because I have clients that, and I'm not that designer that your project is just beneath me or,
Right.
too small or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do whatever I can to help you, whether I sell you a block of my time.
Absolutely.
Or whether you actually hire me and you retain me to actually do the project.
Yeah.
But like I said, it depends on the client. I have clients that literally watch HGTV and believe that that's how it happens.
Right.
In a 30.
This will be done tomorrow,
45 minute segment. And no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I've been working on trying to clarify that whole process.
Yeah.
At the very beginning in my design consultations and getting them to understand that, okay, I know you've seen that, but in all actuality, they've been working on that in a warehouse for 6 months, and then they aired the show, then they filmed the show.
Right.
But typically for me, once I've been retained, I'm going to take at least 2 weeks to create or come up with a concept based on what we've discussed or whatever. And then even with that, sometimes once I've come up with that concept and based on what they've shared with me, it's way out of the ballpark for them.
Right.
And so then at that point, then I have to kind of rewind and, okay, now that you've seen, I don't know if you've ever seen a show on HGTV. I cannot remember the name of it, but people would be looking for a new home. And so the realtor would take them to a home that had all of their wants in it. But then she would pop that bubble.
Yes,
right?
I remember
say,
that
okay,
show.
well,
I don't know the name, but I remember it.
You're right. So for everything that you want, this is what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people don't have a clue about what this stuff costs because, like you said earlier, sometimes our service is viewed as a hobby or, I don't know, a cloud.
Yeah.
But anyway, having that conversation with them about what exactly it is that you want. And if this is what you want, this is the investment that you're looking at. And so maybe we might phase out the project. Let's just start with your entry because that's all the money that you have.
Right.
And it's okay.
And that's okay. Yes.
It is okay.
Yes.
Let's wow that entry out so that, when you walk in, okay, the next step, you're ready for it or whatever. And so that's typically my approach. I try, if they're not comfortable with a large amount of money, that they would have to invest, let's phase it out.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And in reality, it helps me out too, because then I can pace myself.
Can breathe.
Yeah. And so with that, with clients that I have had in the past, they've almost become family because we
spend so much time
together.
Months.
Yeah. And so I think that's a pretty good approach. It works for me. Yeah, it definitely works for me. I have colleagues that go all in. They concept and then
boom, it's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
I don't always work like that.
Right.
So.
Do you feel, because you're mentioning HGTV, do you feel like that type of programming has kind of like, I don't want to say ruined, but do you think it's kind of created this misconception that, well, I guess you already answered that question. So I guess my real question is, do you think HGTV has ruined it?
I don't necessarily think that it's ruined it. I think it, like you said it, misconceptions.
Right.
Because I think HGTV is very inspiring.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can get ideas and like, oh, wow, I would have never thought to do that, which the next person can do the same. So I think it's very inspiring, but I think it's important to realize that it is a form of reality TV. And, nobody is remodeling a house in one day.
Not possible.
That's just not happening.
Yeah, not at all.
And so it takes time. And then with where we are in the world with supply chain issues, it's taking longer. And so that is probably the bane of my existence at the showroom, having to put out those kinds of fires. When my husband and I were in Miami last month, and we went on one of those little boat tours.
Oh yeah,
and one of the docks is in Miami. where stuff is being shipped to. And so I'm right.
Because that my stuff.
So I'm like, oop, there's everybody's stuff on this boat, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just where we
It's
are,
just
you
how it
know?
is.
And so things are really weird
Mm-hmm.
in this industry right now. But I mean, to me, it's such a beautiful industry. And that's what I try to tell my customers every day that come at me, like, where's my stuff?
Right.
Like, hey, this is not an organ. It's not blood and tissue, you know?
Right.
So this is where we are. Let's kind of chill or whatever. But yeah.
And also the whole world is going through it in like across, I mean, every
Yeah.
industry. I know I have friends that have been trying to get their houses built forever because they can't get lumber at an affordable price. And so their houses are kind of 70% completed, you know.
Exactly.
Even I've tried to get things for clients and it's like, well, this is made in Rome, so I can't have it. It's not Amazon. I can't have it tomorrow. It's part of this collection, but I have to wait for it to hit the state. So it's just affecting all of us. And I think if we extend one another grace, it goes such a long way. But you are doing a fantastic job because, as we touched on earlier, you just won an award. So pop your collar a little bit. Tell us about this award you won. We want to know.
Well, locally, San Antonio Design Community, which is that's our organization for interior designers. ASID is the name of the organization,
the national, right?
But locally, it's called San Antonio Design Community. And so every year we have what's called the Pinnacle of Design Awards, where we submit our projects in a competition, and they're judged by somebody across the world. And so I won 2.
Oh,
yeah, I won two awards for San Antonio for Unique Space Commercial, and I forget the other category, but yeah, I won 2 awards. And then state level, I love
this.
Yeah. Well, you said to my horn, toot.
Yes.
State level, I was able to win the President's Award and one other one. I forget the name of it right now, but yeah. So it's me season.
Brava.
Yeah.
No, it is so important to. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to categorize all of my sisters, but I think a lot of us sometimes have trouble giving praise to ourselves or affirming ourselves. And so we have this accomplishment and it's like, oh yeah, I just did that. But I'm in a season in my life and I think I see more women getting a little bit more comfortable. Like it's okay to, you don't have to be braggadocious, but it's okay to say, yes, I did that. And you know what? I worked hard for it and I'm proud of it. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole recognition feels good. Affirmation and validation, it feels good.
It definitely does. Definitely does. It's a confidence booster. And in some cases, it also gives you the right to increase your rates.
There we go.
Boom. Drop the mic.
Exactly.
But and so I'm starting to warm up to that.
Yeah.
The fact that, you know, I've been messing around with my kids and they'll say something. I said, well, listen, I'm an award-winning designer, so I don't do that.
Right.
I pay someone to do that. But on the serious side of it, it's almost the thing that you can use that. Yeah, I won awards.
Absolutely.
I have some accomplishments, and so so here I am. Hi.
Yeah, you know, it's something to be proud of. And those things can also open up further opportunities for you. So I think it's good to sort of bask in that light. And you know, just let it wash over you and it's, you know, it's okay.
Yeah, it definitely has. Because for the San Antonio Design Community, I was also president, or what we call chair.
Okay.
For the last 3 years. But now I've moved to state level. So I'm the membership director for the state of Texas. Yeah. So I kind of help corral new members to be a part of our organization and some other fun things. So
that is very cool.
So it does open up other opportunities.
Well, you have a lot to be proud of, but from one sister to another, I'm proud of you as well.
Thank you.
Because I know how hard you work.
Thank you.
I don't want to say I know, but I have an inkling.
Yeah.
You know, you can look on and see. So what is the difference? I heard you say, and I kind of know the answer to this question, but I want our audience to have an understanding. You mentioned earlier doing residential and then you mentioned commercial. So for our viewers, what is the difference between commercial design and residential design and your process when you approach each of those?
Okay, so first of all, emotion and non-emotion.
Right.
Okay, so dealing with a residential project, that's where you're like, no, I don't like that, I don't know, whatever. Commercial projects, typically, they tell you what they want and you execute it and
Right.
it's done, you know.
Right.
So I love both sides of it though. So that's really the difference. Of course, with commercial design, there's a lot more regulations that you have to follow and things like that, because it affects, you know, the public, the general public and stuff like that, versus someone's home that they're able to kind of do what they want to do aesthetically in their own home. So yeah, I'm more fascinated with the residential though, because I'm into creating a beautiful space for someone to live in, you know, versus someone to come in and out of, and it's like, oh, okay,
right. One is more function, more, yeah.
Now, most of the time, commercial projects are there's more money involved.
Of
you
course,
can make more money, but you know, to each his own.
Yeah,
you know, but yeah, residential design is more my jam.
So if there's like a young girl, like say she's like, I don't know, 16, and she's like, I think I want to go into that, what would you tell her to start doing? Or him, actually, it doesn't have to be a young woman. It could be anyone. If they want to go into your field, what would you tell them to start maybe studying or paying attention to prep them for the college experience?
I probably definitely would tell them to pay attention to their surroundings wherever they go. To be able to just have knowledge of spaces, period, I think is great, especially when you're young. But that whole college experience, I would definitely say do that. Right. My journey was a little different, but I would definitely say go to college and get your credentials in that regard. There's also a thing that you can do where you can actually sit for what's called the NCIDQ. I think I said that right. Okay. Where you can actually be a registered interior designer. That's not my journey. Okay. But if that's something that, you know, someone would want to do, if they wanted to say work for an architectural firm, you need that. Right. So know what you want is what I would tell them. How far in this do you want to go? Because if you do plan to work, you know, for an architect, you will need to actually, you know, go that journey and actually sit for that test. But yeah, I think, get the education. Not a whole lot of the business part of it, you know, the systems and processes are taught. So do whatever you need to do to get that. Because you'll need it. Yeah.
And this is like the big question, and I hear people talk about this frequently. Please educate our audience. What is the difference between interior design and interior decor? Because and I think people conflate them. Yeah. And it's not that one is better or worse, but there is a difference. And I think it's good for people to appreciate the nuances.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, if you ask that question to me and then you ask it to another designer, and then it's going to be different answers, you know, for whoever you ask. But from my perspective, an interior decorator, if you will, might be someone that didn't go to school at all, but just has that gift. Right. You know, I do believe that you have to have a level of creativity already before you even know that you want to go into this field or any kind of creative field. Absolutely. And so some people wake up with the swag, you know, to be able to just, you know,
there's busting out with it.
Yeah. I mean, some people just have it and they didn't go to school for it. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and so and let me just say, because even with the schooling that I have had, nobody has ever really asked me, well, can I see your papers, or you know what I'm saying?
Or your
right. And so
because your work is speaking for itself,
right? Yeah. And so anyway, so that's what I would say. Someone that would be an interior decorator, interior designer. Yeah, you have that education behind you, and some more than others, where you have the ability to come up with a concept. You can do the AutoCADs and all of that. You know, that's what I would say the difference would be, you know, but some people just want to decorate.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
It just
and
feels
again,
good and they
it
love
is
it.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I'm glad you said that though,
Mhm.
because in most creative fields, there's levels of every skill set,
Mhm. Mhm.
and all of those levels are valid
Mhm.
and they're all necessary, I believe. But sometimes there is a little bit of like a hierarchy that people try to force, and
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of all of that.
Yeah.
I believe that you get in where you fit in.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
find what works for you, and there's room for everyone.
Mhm.
We're never going to run out of spaces that need to be
Right.
adorned.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of adopted the what's for me is for me.
Yes.
And so not having like the masters and, or the
Mhm.
bachelors in interior design or the
Right.
masters in this, that, or the other, you know, in some spaces, yeah, I have felt a little intimidated,
Mhm.
but then I go into other spaces where I'm meeting, people that I've followed for
Right.
years that are doing amazing
And you're
things. And
like,
I'm like, wait, what? You didn't even go to college?
Right.
Wait, what? You got fired? Or, just different. Everybody's stories are different.
Yes.
And so I'm feeling real good with my
Yeah.
journey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
really beautiful. And I thank you for sharing that, because, I have a lot of female friends, really good girlfriends, and are all successful in their own right.
Mhm.
And one thing we talk about consistently, because I think it's important, is especially for Black women, imposter syndrome, where we don't always feel like we belong,
Mhm.
even if we've put in the work, even if we have the education, or we've made the connections, or we've done whatever it is. We still sometimes are in a space and we're like, oh, I really don't deserve to be here.
Mhm.
Or they belong more than I do. Have you had to do work to push through any of that? Has that been part of your journey as well?
Oh yeah. For sure. Definitely the
Mhm.
imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, when I sit down and I think, okay, I've done some things.
Yeah.
I'm connected to, some people that
Right.
that I've done things with and stuff like that. And yeah, I deserve this, but it's that getting out of your
head.
that is the toughest.
It's the worst.
It's the
worst. How do
toughest
we get over
thing.
that? Besides therapy.
Right.
But it's something that
it is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That imposter syndrome, it is
Mhm.
a thing. My son and I, we were reading this book on that, and I haven't finished it yet, but yeah, it is real. It is
You'll have to
real.
share that title with me, because
Yeah.
it's something that I have literally
Mhm.
been, and I'm okay with saying, like, I've had to work through.
Mhm.
And it's still, every once in a while, will still come up, and I try to quiet that voice. And I'm
Oh,
like, girl,
yeah.
you did this and you did that. And it's just like, yeah, but somebody's better. You don't need to be here. And
Right.
it's,
And I think the hard part is just realizing even those ones that we consider to be better, they started somewhere,
absolutely.
and then it's a whole, age thing. Sometimes I feel like, okay, gosh, I'm 55 now. Like, did I start too late?
But wait a minute.
whatever the case
You
may
are
be.
like such a fly 55. Like, and I don't like when people say you look good for your age, because you just look good, period.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
for
I'm not
your
a fan
age
of that.
thing is
Yeah,
weird.
yeah,
I
that
feel like
part.
it's kind of passive aggressive.
Yeah.
You just look good, period.
Thank you.
Like, you are so fly and so beautiful, and you have all this like light emanating from you. And it's crazy that you would go into a space and feel like, oh, because of my age.
Oh, yeah,
But
I do, especially when I'm in places where I'm with multiple colleagues that are younger than me, and
right.
and I might look at something that they're doing and like, oh wow, that's really good or whatever. But
Right.
I get over it.
But it's like what you
yeah.
said, what's for you
Yeah,
is
what's
for you.
me is for me.
And I want to touch on, because I think you're also very grounded. Like, you just have a very calm energy.
Thank you.
And well, and I know that your faith probably has a lot to do with that. And I am a person that's very open to hearing anyone and everyone's spiritual journey,
Mhm.
if they choose to talk about it.
Mhm.
But I've seen, like, you sing,
Mhm.
and it was maybe 2 years ago. And I'm like, wait a minute, she sings. And you attend the same church that some other people that I know do. And I'm like, how did I not know this? What part of that part of your life, how does that play into your success, you feel, as, just a mother, a wife, an entrepreneur, even just being creative?
Mhm.
What does that do for you?
Wow.
Everything.
Yeah, literally
Yeah.
everything. Prioritizing my faith is not always where it needs to be. I mean, and if anybody out there is doing it, hey, good for you.
Right.
But those burnout moments and overwhelming moments and stuff like that, when I can sit and I can remember how God brought me through a previous situation, or if I can remember a scripture or something that will help me to just calm down and just be still for a minute, you know.
The be still is hard.
Yeah, that's the hard part. It is. It is. And I've been dealing with it a lot lately, because not only do I have work juggling 4 clients and the show.
Oh.
And so, and I was facing a little opposition with trying to plan the show, but I felt in my heart of hearts, I said, okay, this opposition means that 1, it's needed, and 2, it's really going to bless somebody. And so I would much rather face the opposition and that happen. And, but yeah, at the end of the day, when I can just, you know, focus my attention on God and my relationship, continue to work on my relationship with him, I think that's what kind of, you know, brings me through.
Yeah. No, I think it's very important. And, you know, various people have different beliefs. You know, I even have some beliefs that people are probably like, what? But I do think that when you are highly creative, and just you're striving to be a whole person, that spiritual aspect of your being is really, really something that you can't neglect.
Yeah.
Like, we kind of have to have that to fortify us, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
You know, it needs to be something that and it takes work. It's not like you wake up every day and the first thought you think is like, you know, pure holy thoughts and spiritual.
Exactly.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of work to get there.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
You know, but and I can also, I know when I need to focus my attention on God and my relationship with him, because I'm just off. You know, things are off or whatever. And so that time not spent is apparent, you know, when I'm not where I need to be.
Yeah.
So
you feel it. It's like in here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the show okay, wait, did I hear, how are we doing on time? Did I hear you say something? Oh, we're good. Okay. I thought I heard him. I was like, ah. So the least favorite part of every show is when I like feel like I see his hand doing this. I'm like, wait, how are we doing? But we're fine. So the show is coming up. Can you give us the date? Because we did talk about it, but I don't think I asked you the date of the show, the time, how people get tickets and all of that. So why don't you share that with us so people know where to go and what to expect and how to dress and all that?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Interior Design Meets Fashion. It is happening November 19th, and I'm so excited. 6:30 for those that are VIP, but otherwise at 7 the show will begin. It will be held in Stone Oak in the parking. It is an outdoor event. Okay. Because COVID is still a thing for those that don't realize it. But yeah, it's still a thing. And so I wanted to make sure that it was in a safe space, if you will. And so we are tricking out the whole parking lot of the showroom. And so that's where it's going to be.
I love it. And it's finally cool weather.
Yes.
So outside is actually enjoyable.
Absolutely.
Any other time we'd all be dead in the parking lot.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited. So Saturday, November 19th.
Okay. And then when people want to purchase tickets, do they just go, is it interiordesignmeetsfashion.com?
Yes. Okay. Interiordesignmeetsfashion.com is where you can purchase tickets.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm coming. Because I know I've tried to come in years past and it just did not work out. I am coming this year and I'm trying to make it a point to support more in person various events. Because I'm always like a cheerleader from behind the scenes. I'll share, I'll big up, but I'm really trying to get out of my little, I don't know what I've created for myself at home, but I'm like, oh, it's nice here. I love it. I don't need to leave.
Yeah, we create our bubbles, you know. I mean, and I have one, but yeah, I try and get out of it when I can. Yeah.
But especially after COVID, I think, and that's something I want to talk to you about too, is you know, sort of coming out of that 2-year span, like mentally saying, okay, now it's back to business. It's back to, what did you kind of do to prepare yourself to kind of jump back into things? Or during COVID, were you still continuing to do things virtually, or?
As far as work or the show?
Well, I guess both, either or, because a lot of people shut everything down completely. But I know for people in the creative industries, it's a little bit different because maybe people were designing projects virtually, or how were you able to, I guess, just make it through all that? And somebody's going to need to hear this.
Yeah, I had a couple of existing clients and I just kind of just worked with them. I didn't take on any new clients because the whole going into homes and stuff like that, that just was not a thing. And, but I tell you what, it did scare me when we did the whole shutdown, because we had shut down the showroom as well. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, wait, my income is about to change.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so we were sent home and we were told, okay, maybe work 2 hours. Like, wait, 2 hours?
Like, what can I get done in 2
Right.
hours?
So anyway, but things actually did not happen the way we expected them to. We literally, I mean, business for the showroom, I mean, increased exponentially because people were at home at that point and they're looking around at all the stuff that they've been meaning to get to, or so it really, really took off. But while that was happening, though, I did use it as an opportunity to create another business as a stream of income, just in case anything crazy was happening. And so I started a business called Party in the Yard. Where, you know, those happy birthday signs.
I didn't know you were doing that.
I have that too, girl. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
But people are still continuing to do that, even though we're technically out of, we're not in lockdown anymore.
Right.
COVID is still out there touching folks. But people are still doing. I had a neighbor just maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that did that, and people kind of drove up. They hung out in the front yard a little bit, and they were
those drive-by parties.
Yeah, they were coming in like phases. So it was like maybe 4 or 5, and I'm nosy, so I'm like, what's going on over there? Oh, they have cake. But you could see like a group of people stay for 30 or 40 minutes or so, and then that was the birthday party for the child. So I think that was a good business to get into.
Yeah, so I managed by creating other streams of income. My girls and I started an online boutique.
See, I didn't know this. I'm learning.
So, which will also be, you'll see some of those pieces at the show.
Plug the boutique.
Pretty much apparel.
Pretty much apparel. Okay.
Pretty much apparel. So you'll get to see some of those pieces on the runway. So we're excited about that. So yeah, I just managed by, hey, so what can we do, to keep some money flowing? And I did that, but money didn't stop flowing,
Right.
as far as work was concerned. So.
But that's inspiring. And I'm glad that you're sharing that with us because, COVID was a big deal. But just being realistic and not being pessimistic, there will always be something that's going to happen. And we have to have the ability to pivot. There's always going to be some world event, some life event that's going to throw us off track a little bit. And it's about how you kind of bounce back from it, or how you're able to switch from plan A. It might even be plan B and C. You might have to skip to D.
Right.
But it sounds like that's exactly what you did. You took a situation and you're like, okay, we're going to make it work.
I think we should always explore like the gifts and talents that we have, or even the passions. How can that be a stream of income?
Yeah.
And another thing that we also did too during the pandemic.
I love how you just casually.
I know,
oh
right?
yeah.
Kind of like what we were saying earlier, like. And another thing, but for real, and another thing. I told you I do a lot.
I love it.
My oldest son and I both had the passion about. I love Airbnb experiences, right? So we decided to start an Airbnb business. So
just casually, like on a Wednesday.
Yeah, for real. Like I think it might have been a Tuesday, but yeah. So we did that. So it was just different things we did to kind of keep ourselves busy in hopes that we could make money and
So in the family, we have Pretty Much Apparel. We have an Airbnb business.
Hosleyville.
Hosleyville. Okay. So if people can just go in and type Hosleyville, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you all come to San Antonio, or if you need a cute little weekend getaway and you're already in San Antonio, Hosleyville. It's like a physical location.
It's an Airbnb. Yeah.
So he's talking about the experiences where they like take you around and sightsee and all that kind of stuff.
We can book some tours.
Probably add that on. Look, she's like, and so also we have.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll figure it out.
No, but so along that line, then I have a question for you, because this is something I personally grapple with. So obviously there's a whole bunch of talent in this petite body, right? You are massively talented and brilliant. Do you ever want to keep anything for yourself that you don't like monetize or commodify? Because sometimes I'll talk to people and I'll say, oh, I enjoy doing this. And they're like, girl, you can make money doing that. And it's like, yeah, I could, but I don't want to. And I don't know if that is, I know some people that feel very strongly about keeping stuff, and other people are like, no, monetize everything because that's the way Do you have anything that is just like your creative thing that you just don't want to make a business at all?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm also not that one. Oh, I can make money at that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It just kind of happens.
Okay.
There probably is something
Right.
that I'm just not realizing right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think everything that God has gifted me to do has been a stream.
Yeah, I love that.
But authentically, and not because I'm chasing.
Not you're chasing
money or
chasing
whatever.
the bag.
So yeah, I mean, bag is good.
Oh,
Don't get me
absolutely.
wrong, but I've been able to kind of naturally flow in the gifts that He's given me. I mean, even with singing, I've had opportunities.
This is the 10th thing now.
Yeah.
I love it.
No,
I do.
15th.
I'm joking, but I love it.
I've had opportunities. I mean, and so that might be one. That might be that thing. I mean, that's something I don't get paid to do that.
Right.
But I have had opportunities where I have been able to get paid, but I do that regularly.
You just love it. And you kind of keep it for Nichelle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So.
How did you start singing as like a child or?
No, I actually started singing when I was in Japan.
Okay.
In the church choir, and then just moving. I've just kept that relationship and kept that active. So now at New Creation, I do the same thing.
So I'm trying to figure out because in Japan, was the church like on base? Was it like, okay.
Yeah, Sagami Hara Christian Fellowship. Okay. That was the name of the little church that we went to, and it was such a great experience because those overseas assignments where you get to connect with people because you have no other family.
Right.
That's a different kind of church experience. And I'm sure anybody that has experienced that can probably agree with me because you connect with people in such a different way. And so, that Sunday afternoon, you worshiped and then you go to dinner together or at somebody's house because we're all, on the base or that base, and that's your family.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Do you ever go back? Do you go to visit?
No, I would like to one day because our second daughter, Austin, she was born there.
Okay.
So it would be nice to go back one day.
And what about the language? Did you pick any up there? Or
Skoshi.
Okay.
Very little.
In every language, I know what this means, even if that's all. Well, and it's great because you can tell people, I think what happens if you speak even a little bit of a language, people know that you do and they just take off.
Right.
So if you say a word and just do this, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I can say good morning or I can ask where something might be, but
where's the food?
Right.
Where are the shoes? Yeah. Yeah, no, it's being multilingual is a beautiful thing, but it does invite people to want to have really intense conversations with you. And so, there's a few languages that I can kind of play around with. I can converse, but I know how to say like petit or like just a little bit. That's important to be able to do this. Every country in the world understands this. Yeah. Are there any places like in the world that you haven't traveled that you want to go? Like what's on your
lots of places.
I hate to say bucket list. It's so morbid. Like what's on your what's the board called? Your vision board.
Vision board.
What's on your vision board?
I don't have a vision board, but in my virtual one, I want to go to like Greece, Dubai, all those kind of places that anywhere I can outside of the United States, I'd love to.
Right. Yeah. Well, you'll get there. Yeah. I have a feeling, my gut is telling me that your gifts are going to take you there.
Well,
yeah.
I received that.
Yeah, it's coming. I think so. Well, so my least favorite part of the show, our producers told us we have 5 minutes. So I just want to recap again because I really want our audience to know where to find you if they want to consult with you, if they want to retain you for your full services. So if you'll tell people where they can reach out and find you, and then also we'll give the dates for your event again, just in case someone is just now tuning in. You never know.
Well, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Nichelle Hosley on Facebook, Nichelle Nicole on Instagram, Interior Design Meets Fashion. You can connect with me there because you can become a subscriber. That would be great.
Oh, okay.
And just be on the lookout for different things that we'll be doing now that it's somewhat safe.
Yes.
But yeah, let's see, where else can you find me? That's probably
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I will be at the show. I'm going to bring some folks with me
Please
because I wanted to go so many times before and it just didn't work out. But I will be there this year. And I'm going to
Yay.
roll with some folks. Yeah, but it's during the day. Wait, no, wait, what? Oh, Gylan. Okay.
There you go. Boom.
Well, I
It's
don't have
settled.
a show that day, but it's during the day. But her event's at 6:30, so we're good. I'm going. Nothing is stopping me this year. You have no idea. So thank you so much for, again, I really appreciate it. Anytime anyone takes time out of their schedule, like life is not. None of us are just sitting around. So I know you had to probably move some things to be here or whatever you had to do. I really am grateful. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
You are a joy. You are beautiful and fabulous.
Thank
So
you.
you lifted the whole energy of the room. And I can't wait to, I have some other things planned for the More Than Magic guests. So I can't wait to include you in those as well.
Awesome.
So
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, thank you. This is fun. We could probably talk another,
Probably.
but yeah, we have to go now because we're at the end. Thank you, Nichelle.
Thank
Nichelle with an N, everyone.
Nichelle.
Hosley. Look out for her. Thank you.